Hello my fellow freedom builders and welcome back to the channel. Now yesterday I made a video about this whole GameStop issue that is big right now. It is all over the media and boy did I get a lot of response on that. I think I have been answering 100 or 150 different comments here and well, for my channel and on my Facebook that's quite a lot. And this is a touchy subject and there are so many layers to the whole issue here that I simply had to make another video because there are so many misunderstood points here and so many things that I've forgotten that I simply had to address a bunch of them. So I'll do that in this video, and I know it is not as sexy as this whole David versus Goliath, the Wall Street bets versus the big hedge funds, but I will address that today as well. So first of all, if you have been living under a rock for the last couple of weeks and you simply don't know what I'm talking about, let's give you a big picture here. This is the GameStop stock, and GameStop is this retail chain that has been selling games in real brick and mortar stores all over the world. And they are pretty much obsolete. They are trying to make a turnaround, get something in the cloud and so on. And you can discuss if that will be a success or not. But I should not try to predict that. It might be a success. But the thing is, now I have to reduce this a bit because the stock has completely gone amok here. It is up about 1,000% as of close yesterday, and as you can see, the pre-market here is actually further up, and there's a reason for that I'll address in a second. So it is up something like 1,600% here just since back in December, November time here. Now that is because of the entire short squeeze, and I addressed that in the video yesterday. Now this is the case, but there are so much more to it than that. Let's have a look at some of the points. First of all, I completely sympathize with those of you saying the hedge funds has been doing this for years. They have been manipulating prices and therefore it's good they taste some of their own medicine. Yes, I can sympathize with that, definitely. It is a really sketchy market, this hedge fund, the entire investment financial market. And there are some crooked things going on there, no doubt about it. So I'll try and address this, and much of this is my opinion, so you might disagree. And I'll actually say that in the comments section, you were very civilized yesterday. There was no really foul language that I sometimes see, but there was a very good tone in the comment section. So please keep it that way. First of all, what I think is completely insane is that it is possible to short more than 100% of a company's shares. I was talking about this whole shorting things yesterday, that if I wanted to go short, let's say here down in 30, I would borrow some stocks from a fund. Let's say that I'm borrowing some stocks from a fund here, and I sell that out into the market here at around, let's just say 40 to get an round number. If the stock drops from here, then I can buy it back and put it into the fund that I had borrowed it from, and I can pocket the difference. However, if we have a seller out here and I'm buying the stocks and I'm selling it to a new owner here, then actually, in principle, I can borrow it back from this new owner here, and I can do the exact same thing. So I can actually short the same stocks several times, meaning that the the interest here that can actually be above 100%. Meaning that if there's 1 million stocks out there, there could, in theory, be 2 million stocks shorted, which is insane. And I think that should definitely be addressed because that is, of course, not reasonable that is possible. That will make it possible to put an unnatural selling pressure on a stock. No doubt about it, that should not be allowed. I have no idea how it should be put into context, in a legal context, but I think definitely that should not be allowed. No question about it. Now, Then there's another thing that should be really, really hit hard from a legal perspective, and that is these funds talking bad about a company because they are short. Now, we see that, and we actually see it quite often. We see a fund that is short, and then we see them go out into the media and try to plant a story that is bad about the company. That is called stock manipulation or price manipulation, and that is actually already illegal. However, is there done anything about it? I'm not certain. Maybe in different parts of the world there is. But we should consider here that there is absolutely nothing different from this scenario where the fund is short and talking badly about a company, and then to a fund that is long in a stock that is trying to pump it. And this is something that I think many people misunderstand, because most investors are long stocks. So they have some sort of attachment to a stock. So let's have a case back here with Nikola. Here. The Nikola, if you remember, I had this Nikola, I made a lot of videos about it, and this stock was pumped by management, by funds, by a lot of different parties, a lot of privates as well. We're talking about how amazing this Nikola stock was. And me and many of other YouTubers and then many other analysts were saying, no, it's one big scam. This Trevor Milton, he's just giving you false information, and it is so easy to see that it is false. But no one really cared that the CEO was telling lies here, because it was in all of the stock owners' interests. But then we had a short fund coming in. They were called the Hindenburg Group, I think it was. And they started saying, well, we are short now. That was up around here. And they made a very comprehensive report telling us why they were short. So they were actually confirming a lot of the things that I and many other people have said, that what they claimed they had was simply not physically possible. So they were really hated on, this Hindenburg Group, because people said, yeah, well, they're just saying this bad news because they're short. No, they actually didn't. They had a very good case. And what happened is that all of a sudden people realized that much of what Nikola was saying was simply just hot air. So private investors could invest up here at around 80, 90, almost 100. But since the short sellers came in and pushed the price down, you and me and a lot of other private investors was actually able not to being cheated quite as much if we bought into the stock. Because if we had bought in here, and if the short sellers and the ones with the bad news hadn't come out, the Nikola might have gone to 200, and then even more people would have been cheated out of even more money. So the whole concept of shorting, in my opinion, there is nothing wrong with that. It can actually help to get a more fair pricing, because many of these funds they're sitting some very clever people in there, and they can see something in a company. They have access to information that I don't have and you don't have, so they can tell us by shorting, saying there's something terribly wrong with this company. There have been a ton of cases here. There were some short funds that made a killing back when Enron went bankrupt. One of the USA's largest companies that was a complete fraud. And these short sellers, they came out and showed a report showing us how this company simply was fraudulent. And that brought it to its knees. Otherwise, even more people would have been scammed out of their money. So let's just remember that the pure concept of shorting is not by definition bad. It is bad, in my opinion, if we're shorting more than 100% of the floating stocks, and if someone is trying to manipulate the price downwards simply because they're short. But just remember that every single day, in Facebook groups, in Reddit groups, from funds, in radio and TV shows, I see long investors trying to persuade people in the market to say, well, this stock is fantastic. Oh, and by the way, I'm long. And that is just as bad, as just as good as a shorter going out saying, this is a terrible company, and by the way, I'm short. Then there's a David versus Goliath. And yes, this Reddit group that I showed you yesterday, I think really they started this as a as a principle. They were really against these shorters shorting more than 100%. However, they were also a big fan of the GameStop, the whole power to the players, and of this new guy that came in buying 10% of the stocks. So there might be a bit of bias here. But I think the David versus Goliath was true in the beginning. Just be aware that something like 99% of the people going in right now saying, yeah, these hedge funds, they should be beaten down. They're pretty much doing it to pump the stock further up. So there were some comments from the video yesterday saying that this whole Reddit group, the Wall Street Bets, that is not an organized thing. It is not like they are going out saying you should buy this. No, that might be true, but the entire Reddit group right now has been one big boiling pot of people wanting these stocks to go up. So everybody in this group is right now talking about bringing the stock further up. No one in the group right now is talking about, oh well, are there any fundamentals in GameStop that could tell us it should cost 228? Because there's not. It is simply not a good company, if you ask me. There might be some turnaround potential, and there might be potential for the stock to go up from $4 to $20. I don't know. But there's no way the stock could cost $228 or $1,000. Let's see how far up this will go. And now on to the next point. Now billionaires are starting to interfering. There's Elon Musk. He tweeted yesterday, the game stunk. He said, and just by this single tweet, he actually brought the aftermarket price of the stock up by something like 28%. Because now Elon Musk is in there, and there's a couple of other billionaires, and they are having kind of a grudge with this owner of the Citron fund that is short the stock. So they are actually putting maybe $100,000, maybe $200,000 into this just to spur the interest and to keep the long investors going into the stock, simply to hurt the short funds. So is that right? Is that wrong? Well, right now, this is actually, we know that Elon Musk, he hates shorters. And you could say when Tesla were heavily shorted, that was actually because most investors could see that Tesla was not making any money. And they simply could not see how it could bear these fundamentals that, or the price that it had from its fundamentals. So you could say that there was a case for a short in Tesla. They had proven the shorters wrong. So right now, Elon Musk and a couple of other billionaires are interfering here, which is just putting extra gasoline on this fire. Now, the future of shorting. That is also another thing we should address here, because now I mentioned the Nikola and what we might see in the future. Of course, a good thing is that we might see some of these heavily massive market manipulative shorters that they kind of stop doing what they're doing. I hope so. But another side effect here that I don't like is that many of the very ethical shorters, and they are out there, but let's say the Nikola shorters here, if this Nikola case was after the GameStop case, then we might see the Hindenburg group sitting and saying, yeah, well, we can see there's something terribly wrong here, but we are simply afraid that if we start shorting the Nikola, then we will be the victims of another Reddit raid, another investor group going together and with 1 million members and saying, now we should kill the Hindenburg fund. And the Hindenburg was actually right. There was something terribly wrong in Nikola. But what I'm afraid of in the future is that these ethical shorters, these shorters that are actually right, that's coming out with a message saying this is a terrible company and we are going short, they might not do this quite as much. And we might see more private investors being cheated out of their money simply because that the good shorters, they are holding back because they are afraid to be victims of a raid like what we are seeing right now. And that is actually one of the things I fear the most, because as I said, I see a lot of good things in the whole shorting thing when we have a bad company. Another thing I addressed there is this actually, is it worse to be short than to be long? Well, I can see that in many Facebook groups, people are really hating on shorters. But to be honest, I have a feeling that it is because people don't understand what shorting is. Because, in my opinion, being long a stock is actually nothing different than being short. It is a bet in the market. And you could say that if you are a long-term investor, that there are not many long-term shorters in the market, because being short is something where you are planning for, you're paying an interest on the stocks you're borrowing. So you cannot just keep them forever like you can with a buy and holding a stock. So you cannot really, what is it called? Sell and holding, maybe. You cannot just short a stock and then keep it forever, because interest will keep pouring on from the stocks you have borrowed. So in my opinion, of course you can buy a stock and hold it forever. But if you are trading stocks, if you're going in and out in stocks, there is, in my opinion, absolutely no difference with being long or being short. You're taking a bet in the market and saying, my bet is that in 2 months this stock is up. Or you're saying, I'm betting that in 2 months this stock is down. My opinion, no difference. The last question I just wrote down here, should 2.4 million private investors be in charge? Well, I know that it is tempting to say, yes, power back to the people. But we should consider, if this was just 2.4 million individuals saying, yes, we have a group here, we can share some opinions, and now we all have the same opinion, and that is to go long. We should consider, who is deciding the direction of these traders? Why did they pick GameStop? Why did they pick BlackBerry? Why have they picked Bed Bath & Beyond? Who are picking these stocks? And should it be so that the owner of these groups, should they have to show if they have bought stocks up front and how much they made from telling good stuff about this stock and saying, hey, now we are running in this direction? Because I can see that there was this, I think, a case I mentioned yesterday with a guy buying call options in GameStop for $50,000. And now that was up at $11 million. And that was even some days ago. So it might be up at $30 million now. I don't know. Because that it is actually a leveraged investment. So should they have to disclaim what they own, how much they make from this? Because there will be people in here that make money. But my prediction is that 99, maybe 95, I don't know the number, but up in that range, 95, 99% of the private investors that jump on this bandwagon, they end up losing money. Because at some point, right now when the hype is running, at some point the price will collapse. I have no idea when it will be. Let's just have a look at it today again. The price chart here. It could go to 1,000. It could go to 5,000, or it could turn around today and go to 10. But there will be so many million investors that burn their fingers here, that are completely wiped out from this. And should that be allowed to have such a large group without any disclaimer? I know people are saying, yeah, this is not a controlled, organized thing. Maybe not, but someone is in charge here. Someone is picking out the stocks that this group is following. It might not be the administrator and the owner of the group. It might be some other people in the group, but someone are doing it. And what we will see, and that is with 100% guarantee from now, we will see several of these groups starting to run this short squeeze game. And they will pick on everything. Every stock that is more than 10 or 20% shorted, they will run on this. And if they can gather down a group that is big enough, then they can say, wow, we have 50,000 people now running in the same direction. Let's make a short squeeze on this, even though it is a completely legit short position. So we will see a number of these groups come out now. I know that Wall Street bets are the largest, and they will kind of be the example that will be mentioned 10 years from now. But there will be a ton of these groups trying to get together and maybe even organize it more and saying, now we are going for this company. And it could actually I'll not say it could be the end of shorting, but it could actually put a limit to the shorting, even the legitimate shorting of really bad companies. And that is one of my really big worries about this. So, what I think will happen, and I said this yesterday as well, I think there will be some regulatory intervention right now in a couple of days. I think they will halt the trading in GameStop. I don't see how the SEC or some of the other governmental offices cannot do that. They can see that this is running completely wild, and when they do it, and I'm pretty sure they'll do it somehow, put some regulations on the trading of GameStop and some of the other stocks, then we will see an outspur. People will see it as a confirmation of the big capital that is trying to ruin the private investors. I don't see it as black and white. I can see some of the arguments there, but to be honest, and I know some of you will hate me for saying this, but I could see the reason why the trading should be limited in GameStop. This has run completely amok, and as I say, I sympathize with the entire idea of hitting on some of these fraudulent short funds, but we are also making a lot of damage to the entire system by letting this run. That is my opinion, and you're welcome to disagree, and you're welcome to write your opinion about this, and just please let it be in a nice tone so we can have a nice debate and discussion, and I'll do my best to answer all of the comments and the questions. I can't guarantee that I get around to do it all, but I'll try. That's all for now. Take care of yourself and your money out there, and I hope you found it okay to that I dug a bit deeper into this case where there are so many layers. Take care of yourself and your money out there. Bye for now.